Getting down to earth to raise farming efficiency. In Cameroon, agricultural workers use a new soil analysis kit to make better choices for planting.
Made in Nigeria, these Android phones represent the progress of homegrown tech. President Muhammadu Buhari receives them just minutes before the commencement of the Federal Executive Council meeting at the State House in Abuja. Hello, thanks for tuning into the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I'm Chamberlain Otoa, Channels Television here in Lagos. I'm joined by Vincent Makori from Voice of America in Washington.
Thanks. I'm Vincent Makori at the Voice of America, happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Our broadcast still looks a little different because of the global pandemic, but we truly appreciate you staying with us on Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Chamberlain Oso in Lagos brings you that story.
Nigeria has taken a bold step into the future of technology in the country as President Muhammadu Buhari receives 12 indigenously made smartphones. The Android phones were produced by the Model Training Center of the Industrial Training Fund, an agency under the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, and presented to the President by the Minister of the agency, Mr. Niyi Adebayo, just minutes before the commencement of the Federal Executive Council meeting at the State House, Abuja.
President Muhammadu Buhari arrives to join members of the Federal Executive Council for the weekly meeting. The attendees are few, and present are the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, 4 ministers, among others, and then the presentation of the first indigenously made mobile phone presented by the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. After the meeting, the minister further explains that Nigeria carves a niche for herself with the introduction of the locally made phones.
It was made by the Model Skills Training Center of the Industrial Training Fund. It's no different from any other mobile phone. They're trying to mass produce it. This is the beginning. This is the first one that they have made. I'm sure they will go on to try to see what they can do with regards to charging without having to use conventional power sources.
Now let's get some reactions from Nigerians on this breakthrough.
With this, the youth will be able to know that, yes, we have a government that is ready to help, that is ready to help them grow, that is ready to give them an enabling environment to grow their talents and what they can offer the country.
Every component inside that phone in Nigerian components, are they from Tantalites? Are they all Nigerian products, all made, all the components inside that phone? Do we still have to go and import stuff to come and make, or is it just an assembled phone in Nigeria? Those are the questions that you have to ask. So for me, time will tell. It's a good development, but will they last?
Well, joining us to discuss this is the Managing Director, Anchor Telecoms, Mr. Tony Emukwere. Glad to have you on Africa 54.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, for many Nigerians, this is good. From several indications. So for you, being an industry player, how do you assess this?
It's a great move for not only the industry, but for the country at large. We've been craving for homegrown technologies, homegrown development, and this is a step in the right direction.
How ready is Nigeria's market for this?
I think we are more than ready. I think it's more than delayed, actually. The mobile industry now has grown over more than 20 years since the liberation in the 2000s. Right now, from the NCC's statistics, we have over 190 mobile phone subscribers. Only 32% of that has smartphones. Pew Research says that by 2025, that will grow to about 60%. So you can imagine the gap in that, and we should not leave that kind of market to foreigners to take advantage of. So the good, we are starting now. Some will say it's a bit late, but we're starting now. At least 30% between now and 2025 is a lot to catch up to. So it's a good move.
Well, much as it's a good move, but Nigerians have got, the taste, the foods they use. So this one will be competing with several others. How do you see them playing?
Well, I think the mistake we make is that we're always looking at the high end of the you still, when you say 30% has smartphones, that leaves about 70% of the market. And those are the average common people, okay? And they don't have access to the kind of funds that are required to buy these high-end smartphones. So we need these smartphones to be available to the common man for a lot of users, you know, mobile money. There's so many users that could be available to the average man. And the pricing of these smartphones are priced totally out of their hands. So if we have these homegrown phones, this will now be available to the common man, and we all know the value or how communication boosts the economy. So that's what we should be looking at, not just features alone. And apart from that, we also need this kind of technologies to be developed in-house. We all hear about capital flight, how, for instance, I was listening today about how our currency is being devalued, and we should not leave this kind of space open to the foreign markets. We should do it internally.
What kind of steps would you advise the federal government to take to ensure that they bring in the professionals, the industry players, and then, of course, they have to make a lot of the business part of this needs to be up and running as well? I
think the first thing to do, I'm sure I hope they have done, is to do a kind of feasibility study as regards to what needs to be done, because we are hearing that they're sourcing materials locally from Lagos, Abia, and another state. We need to have industry players part of that. The mobile operators, they need to engage them to know their forecast in terms of how many phones they need, what kind of pricing strategy do they need to do. So engaging the mobile operators will be key in that regard. Also sensitizing the industry to see who will be ready to invest in not only just manufacturing the phones, but also distribution, which is key. Those are the areas I think the federal government needs to look at.
So which value chain, which sectors, what do you think we should be doing now to develop that particular sector in this country? Well,
basically now, I think this is started by the Industrial Training Fund. So it's a good move. The main issue now is we need to grow, how will I put it, technical skills around this development, you know. People who are going to be repairing phones, who are going to be designing apps that will be used on these phones, local grown apps, local grown phones, repairs. These are the areas we need to now start. But you see, this can be a catalyst for that. We're already spinning in that space. Nigerians are already doing major achievements in the software side of mobile phones, for example. But the hardware is where we have the gap. And I think this is the right move in that direction.
What about the tertiary institutions? Don't they have a role here?
Well, you see, the thing is that they do have a role, but the challenge is that they have not been intertwined with the private sector. Okay, so the issue is not just the tertiary institutions. We produce graduates, but how are they linked with the private sector? How are they linked with the economy per se? You know, unfortunately, our tertiary institutions are so much focused on theoretical aspects of learning. So when you see specialized institutes like this, okay, they bring that theory into practice. And not only just our tertiary institutions, we also look at our polytechnics. Okay, this is one area that we think has been played down a lot, but this is where actually the technical skills, actual hands-on skills are being developed, and those are the areas that we need to focus on.
All right, then, Mr. Tony Mokbere, thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, Mary Beth Leonard, was recently interviewed by the Voice of America's House of Service reporter, Medina Dauda, in Abuja. She spoke on the topics of insecurity and ethnic violence.
The United States really stands with Nigeria at a time when you feel like there's just a lot of activity, and as Secretary Blinken said in his visit the other day, there's such an array of security challenges, ranging from those that you mentioned to insecurity and the banditry, kidnappings, terrorism. It's really quite daunting, and one does have the sense that all Nigerians feel touched about this, or there's a certain frustration level, both among citizens who may have who are impacted by various kinds of insecurity, the government that needs to respond to a seemingly quite daunting array of challenges.
She also spoke about the role of development initiatives in sustaining a solid security partnership between Nigeria and the United States.
Challenges to security are more than just about a physical response. While there may be very many different reasons for insecurity in Nigeria, for example, I think we would all agree that lack of opportunity underpins many of them. And so the United States is very involved in programs to create such opportunities. I was just in Kebbi last week, and it was our first grant under the West Africa Trade Hub to help provide seed money to cause a private operator to put in more investment so that more farmers are being employed to grow rice, to bring to the factory where people have jobs, and with the end result that you have a high-quality product that's made in Nigeria. It's not the first such element or such grant that we will make under that facility, but it's really, I think, something that goes right to the heart of how do you diversify the economy, how do you create more employment. So there's that part of addressing the lack of opportunity that underlies insecurity. There's also the concept of mediation and dialogue, which is, of course, in some respects the work of the federal government or the state government, but we also do an awful lot of work about creating community mechanisms for people to address differences between themselves, and also to serve as sort of sometimes as early warning mechanisms of the fact that there's a community that might be about to have some difficulties, and how do we intervene in that. And of course, there's the hard security side, which is our assistance to police and security forces. We have a very long-standing partnership, and some of those elements, we're a great partner. Sometimes we're not a very fast partner. Some of those programs are coming to fruition with the delivery of some equipment later this summer. But it's about equipment, it's about training, it's about joint exercises, it's about enhancing the capability of forces to be nimble responders and effective responders in service of protecting Nigeria's citizens. So we're very proud in the United States to work in all three of those areas. And in 2021, we have been continuing conversations about where do we need to go next. You'll have seen that the General Townsend from AFRICOM paid a visit here a couple of months ago, and he's followed up with some phone conversations with his counterparts since about here's where we are, what are the next things that we can do to make this more effective.
Environmental activists in Tunisia are protecting the country's biodiversity in the sea and restoring marine life to damaged areas by making artificial reefs from palm trees, branches, and concrete. They are hopeful, however, that this method will help preserve the environment in the long run.
Using concrete and palm tree branches, Tunisian environmental activists are building artificial reefs to restore marine life in damaged areas of the sea. The Notre Grand Bleu Association was created in 2012 by a group of Tunisian divers who wanted to preserve and create a sustainable marine environment.
Because of pollution, climatic change, and many other man-made factors, we found many places in our sea that were abandoned and became barren places without life. So we decided, as Notre Grand Bleu Association, to do this initiative.
According to Ahmed Souki, Notre Grand Bleu's president, the method used to create artificial habitats for marine life is an ancient one.
As for this method, it is old. Our ancestors used to use it. And we are trying to restore its life with these artificial reefs that represent an artificial and ecological hideout to protect the biodiversity in our sea.
Artificial corals are a man-made underwater structure usually built to enhance marine life in areas with a feature-free seabed. Many reefs are built using objects that are originally used for other purposes, for example, by sinking oil rigs, scuttling ships, and many other ways.
It's time now for a short break, and as we do, we remind you to visit our website, channelstv.com, for news and programming around the clock. You can also find us at youtube.com/channelsweb. Still to come, extreme fun in the sand. They call it dune bashing in the arid desert of Libya. Daredevil drivers show off their skills.
Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Cameroon's agricultural sector employs the majority of the country's workers, but too many know too little about the soil where crops grow, resulting in inefficient farming. To help Cameroon's farmers, a computer engineer created an electronic analysis kit to test soil quality and sustainability for crops. Moki Edwin Kintaka has this report by Anne Nzeukyo in Edea, Cameroon.
Cameroonian Rostang Sime last year spent all his savings to start a plantain and banana plantation. But like all new farmers, he has struggled with efficient production.
We are already at 13 months old today. The bananas are still growing. The questions begin to arise.
Sime heard about a Cameroonian company that helps farmers in remote areas to analyze their soil quality and to help choose crops. Technology startup Clinic Agro created a kit with a mobile application for instant soil testing. Founder Pyrus Kudjo says he invented the kit to help farmers who were losing money.
It's
very important for the farmer to be able to analyze his soil. Knowing your soil means being able to secure your investment, reduce the use of pesticides, reduce input costs, and improve productivity and agricultural profitability.
Most Cameroonians work in farming as agriculture is one of the main staples of the economy. But experts say many farmers are not trained to analyze soil for efficiency. Agronomist Rodrigue Ngono trains farmers. He says soil analysis is key to getting better results.
This leads us to have an approach that we're moving toward. In agriculture, it's called precision farming. It's about determining the exact amount of nutrients that a plant will need to provide in order for it to be produced most profitably.
For farmer Sime, the clinic soil analysis shows his soil quality is poor and very acidic. The app recommends he switch to planting cucumbers, lettuce, eggplant, pineapple or cassava.
We do not intend to stop there, especially since we now have a partner, Clinic Agro, who is supporting us. With the new lands that you see, we are going to test new samples of land and then move on to other crops, something other than plantains.
Clinic Agro says in just 1 year since its creation, its mobile kit has tested soil quality for nearly 1,000 farms in Cameroon. For Anne Zwanke in Edea, Moki Edwin Kinzika for VOA News.
Libyans escape stress, enjoy dune bashing in the desert. Some Libyans are leaving the many hassles of daily life behind the cities to enjoy dune bashing in the arid desert east of the city of Misrata. They say watching drivers of jeeps display their skills takes off the stress. Have a look.
This is Arid Desert, 50 kilometers east of Misrata. Hundreds of Libyans gather here for dune bashing, a sport where jeeps ride through the sands to decompress from the stress of everyday life.
I came here from a distance of 50 kilometers in order to experience the beautiful ambience in Arar, to feel better, and watch the fun atmosphere created by the challenge amongst young people.
Drivers of the four-wheeled cars show their skills to the delight of an audience that cuts across all ages.
We come here to release pent-up energy, and the same goes for my children, nieces, nephews and cousins. They all come with me every Friday. Ara is considered the only place to let off steam for young people. I look at it as a challenge amongst youth. It is a challenge against nature.
Close to the sea, these fascinated youths say they are away from the hustle and bustle of the cities.
We come here to get away from anxiety and have fun. We hope that the government organizes such activities and provides them with security and ambulances, just like in other countries.
Despite all the attraction created by the sport, participants still hope for it to get the needed attention and support of the Libyan government by providing better organization, security and ambulances in case of emergencies.
A recent report published by the National Academy of Sciences paints a grim picture of declining diversity in ocean life. In the study that spanned decades, researchers link a drop in species to a rise in ocean temperatures. VOA's Rasha Abasadi has our report.
Research published Monday shows a strong correlation between rising sea surface temperatures and a roughly 50% drop worldwide in the total number of open water species in just 40 years.
In a geological history, this is a blimp, so it's just a wink of an eye. To see such rapid changes or such changes occurring so rapidly is something that's astonishing, I would say.
Researcher and ecologist Sebastian First says coral reefs have begun moving north and south toward the poles, a sign they're adapting to warmer waters. But he questions if the shift can happen fast enough to adjust to the changing climate. The species that can easily move have largely done so, says researcher Chaya Chaudhary.
We found that almost all the marine species have moving away from the equator, and they are accumulating in the subtropics, and that's where we have higher peak in the species diversity.
Conservation scientist Stuart Pym says the study by the National Academy of Sciences shows broad trends that demand attention.
What we're doing to the planet is causing an enormous amount of disruption in all sorts of ways. And I think we have to get a handle on that.
Pym says scientists need more data and details to study growing concerns about the food chain. Experts say biodiversity is an essential component to nutritional food. The World Wildlife Fund says approximately 3 billion people worldwide rely on proteins fished, farmed, or caught in the water. Arash Arabasadi, VOA News.
Well, and that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Channels Television has our last word from Lagos.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week. Remember, channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. I'm Chain Balino, so thank you for watching. Goodbye.